All right, so some exciting new Nintendo Switch 2 leaks just appeared online, and I want to unpack them with you all, in addition to a couple news headlines that we will cycle through as well. But the big and first exciting story that we are going to unpack is a source that is now suggesting that themes will be a thing, customized themes on the Nintendo Switch 2 in this current generation. Maybe not as soon as you want to see them, but this person's track record as of late has made me pay quite a bit more attention to them. So I do actually think that this is absolutely worth having a conversation about once again, and talking about maybe what we might see Nintendo do with customizable themes in the Switch 2 generation, because I do actually think there's some interesting ways that they could go about this. Then we also have the same leaker also suggesting that we should be expecting more Switch 2 editions of games, name dropping Pikmin 4 specifically in this update. Then we have kind of a news headline that suggests loosely the time frame that it may be hard to secure a Nintendo Switch 2 console, meaning can you easily go order one online or walk into a store and find one. And this analyst is actually putting it outwards of early 2026, spring 2026 to be exact. Then we have kind of a updated rumor mill conversation around whether or not we are in the week that a Nintendo Direct is going to take place. This story may get outdated if we get some kind of official announcement, in which case you'll have a different video for me going up covering that. But if it's still in this video, that means there is the possibility that it's this week. And there's some back and forth between a couple different people online that I really want to unpack, because I think it could have actually been misinterpreted as a whole. That said, I still like this week as a strong possibility for a Nintendo Direct. Then we have Capcom actually updating us on the status of Mega Man and the importance of the IP to them, despite there being no big release in recent memory. But maybe this is kind of giving us some indication that Mega Man may be set for some kind of return. So we're going to unpack all of these details, but before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first kick this conversation off with the leak suggesting that we may actually be able to expect themes, customizable themes, to be headed to the Switch 2. This rumor does stem from Nash Weedle, and you may be familiar with their track record getting ever more impressive in the Switch 2's generation. To be fair, they have put out a lot of information. Not all of it has proven true yet, but very few things have been proven wrong or just totally missed. And lots more things have been very right, especially, name dropping some specific hard to predict things like No Man's Sky getting the Switch 2 edition completely free, Elden Ring Tarnished edition, the exact naming and timeline of that coming to Nintendo Switch 2, lots of other stuff that we won't spend too much time highlighting. But the thing about it is that unless if this individual totally takes a left turn and starts getting a ton of stuff wrong, I still think that they are right now a reasonable source to pay attention to. And you can see this post from them over on X, which says, "It had been rumored, but I didn't mention it until now, that I can put a green check mark on it," or the green check mark emoji. And it says, "Nintendo Switch 2 will have new themes for the menu, but it seems they won't arrive this year." So clearly all those little fan mock-ups you see online, some of them really being what I would actually like to see from the Switch UI. Like, yes, I do like the simplicity and the one row of icons, but I don't always want it to be that. And I just think that options in this case make a lot more sense for Nintendo to support this as an additional option. You don't have to use it, but I think it would add a lot of flair and personality to the console. And while in generations past, we've kind of seen Nintendo dabble with this stuff, especially 3DS being kind of like the big highlight of that, it seems like when they went to the Switch, they just kind of all but forgot themes entirely. And I do think that when you're looking forward to a big games release, how cool would it be right now to be able to have a Donkey Kong Bonanza theme as your background, maybe even have it live dynamic movement in the background and stuff to kind of keep you looking forward to that game's release. And it would be really nice if Nintendo did even let us customize the number of rows that were scrollable on the main home screen. You could maybe get way more creative with how the folder system works and actually include the groups section that is locked behind all software right now. Let that show up mainly on the home screen itself or on the main display itself. And then you have things like your different NSO console libraries all in one group. You have all your different games from specific genres all in one group, and they could be easily accessible to you from one click on the main home screen. I think that all of that stuff would be very welcome. And while this isn't necessarily confirmation that the themes will go that in depth, it could legitimately just be additional background options to choose from, or God forbid if they just only give us a couple extra color schemes and that's it. Like we have kind of like a teal theme and then we have some kind of, you know, red type of theme for the background. I hope that's not all we're looking at here. And I also hope that Nintendo, you know, they could actually monetize this, or at least make it an extra NSO member benefit if need be. Like it would be cool to have a few extra free options for themes, but it is not uncommon for companies to look at selling these things. And if they want to have them for $1.99 standalone purchase, a couple bucks, that's fine, but then you can throw them into expansion pack, and essentially for NSO members that are already paying that subscription, that's just one extra member benefit that you get, is a wide selection of customizable themes. And I would love to see it for stuff like even Tears of the Kingdom games that are already out, in addition to whenever we find out what the next Zelda project is, you know, having Metroid Prime 4 being around the corner. I would love to have a customized Metroid Prime 4 Beyond home screen page for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I really like the personality that themes add in personally. I know some people couldn't care less. I am one of the people that cares about this, so this is an exciting rumor to see pop up for me. And due to Nash Weedle's leak accuracy lately, I do actually think that we should maybe set ourselves up for the expectation that at some point in this console generation, sounds like it won't be this year, but as soon as next year, Nintendo may push through that software update that does enable customizable themes. Okay, sticking on the Nash Weedle train of leaks, we do also have this post from him recently where he says, "Heads up, Pikmin 4 will be one of the next games to receive an upgrade on Switch 2. I've heard a rumor that it will be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which would include some additions, but I haven't been able to verify this." So not exactly his most concrete take it to the bank claims, as he's saying he hasn't been able to verify it. But what my understanding of this post is more that it's going to get an upgrade regardless on Switch 2, and it's going to be one of the next games that do get it, but he doesn't know for sure that it will be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which would actually add in some additional content like we've seen Nintendo do for select Switch 1 games that get Switch 2 editions. Of course, we have most notably Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You know, we have the Zelda Notes app functionality in addition to all the 4K 60 HDR type of sprucing up, and they actually get physical re-releases on the Switch 2 generation. Then we have, of course, Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Starcross World. It's basically a DLC expansion, but also you can just update your Switch 1 version and get that extra content for 20 bucks if you don't want to go out and buy the whole thing together all in one package on the Switch 2 edition. And Super Mario Party Jamboree TV, which is that Switch 2 edition of Mario Party Jamboree. Listen, I think it's going to make sense for Nintendo to actually go back and look at select games that were good sellers, but that might have an additional little bit of life in them if you spruce them up and give them some extra content and give people a reason to go buy them for the first time, and or just upgrade your current copy for a Switch 2 edition to enjoy better visuals, frame rates, and some extra stuff to check out in the game. Like, I'm okay with them doing this entirely. In fact, you know, in the lead up to Switch 2, we covered rumors that this would be a thing all along, and it is a thing, and it's kind of cool to see the way that Nintendo's handling it. Like, I'm fine with that $10 or $20 upgrade price if we're getting additional notable features, improvements in performance, and some type of additional content at some level. And it seems like the rule of thumb is if it comes with a DLC style expansion, it's a $20 upgrade fee, and if it's just a little bit more of a visual upgrade that's not one of the free updates, then in that case it does look to be like a $10 upgrade, like what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are. So we'll have to see if Pikmin 4 ends up being a $10 or $20 upgrade, and if there is any kind of meaningful features added in. But I do like the chances of Nintendo handpicking a select more few games from the Switch 1 generation to kind of just get them spruced up and brought over, and an extra chance to sell on Switch 2. I personally think this is a fine approach for Nintendo to continue to support their Switch 1 library of games in the Switch 2 generation, as long as it's not the big marquee releases. Like if we're seeing Switch 2 editions fill out the calendar monthly release schedule that Nintendo kind of loosely sticks to for their first party software, and all we're getting is those Switch 2 editions, well, that would be an issue. But as long as the Switch 2 fresh exclusives are still pumping out, and alongside of that we get some reason to go back and revisit select Switch 1 games with Switch 2 editions, I'm all for it. I really hope that as part of the 40th anniversary for Mario that they do something with Wonder, maybe give it DLC content, a $20 expansion, and take advantage of all of the enhanced resolution, HDR support, and all of that, because that game, while it sold incredibly well and is still continuing to sell, it was mysteriously missing from the free update list of games. And we do know Nintendo will just sometimes add free updates to that list, like we saw them do with Splatoon 3. And in fact, Digital Foundry and other outlets singing the praises of just how big of an upgrade Splatoon 3 got. Like, I want that same kind of thing for Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because it's honestly a top tier elite favorite of all time type of level of 2D platforming experience, in my opinion. So yeah, really exciting things to see what will come with the Switch 2 edition, but Pikmin 4 may be the next one to look forward to. Okay, from here, if you are somebody who is still struggling to find a Switch 2 and you kind of just want some kind of report to go off of on when stock levels might kind of normalize a little bit more. Now, I understand some markets do seem to have ample stock of Switch 2s. You do see some people say things like, yeah, in my small town, I can actually walk into my Walmart and buy one right now. That's not the case where I live. That's not the case where a lot of people live. And scalping prices are still a thing online. They're not near as terrible as we've seen in prior console launches overall, because Nintendo has actually supplied a lot of stock. In fact, at the time I'm filming this video, there's like a Walmart restock happening that would have already happened by the time you're seeing this, but essentially there are retailers that are getting restock waves and things like that fairly regularly, but no doubt it's still really hard to find this high demand product. And you can see this article posted up over on My Nintendo News where it says, Japan analyst says Nintendo Switch 2 could be difficult to purchase until spring 2026. Japanese news site Nikkei is reporting that analysts are not expecting the Nintendo Switch 2 to become easy to purchase until at least the spring of next year. Demand for Nintendo's latest hardware remains especially high in the land of the rising sun, and analysts aren't expecting the stock situation to get much better in the foreseeable future. Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa says that the company is in the process of working to strengthen our production system so that we can flexibly respond to demand. And especially over in Japan, I mean, they've done almost everything off of a lottery system to try to buy this console, and they are selling at record numbers. There's also a cheaper model over there that is region locked to Japan, but that's also being picked up by the masses. And this is kind of a no-brainer upgrade. Nintendo really, owns the market over in Japan. They also have a lower cost option to upgrade to Switch 2, and so many of their player bases over there have been waiting for this thing. So yes, in Japan specifically, probably at least until early 2026, but I do actually think that report rings true for probably a lot of the world. I think that we're going to get through this first holiday sales period, and it's going to be very hard to secure all the way through that holiday sales season. And then past that, and kind of some of the fallout after the beginning of the year, you should probably start to hopefully see Nintendo meet more comfortable levels of restock flowing out to stores where it's something where you can walk in and buy it, or at least order it online with relative ease and not have to really follow all of these stock tracker accounts and get in the weeds and all that stuff to find your console. Okay, moving on from there, we do have once again a conversation that has popped up online around Nash Weedle due to a post that he has made on social media, on X specifically, and Nate the Hate gets involved in this as well. So this has to do with the idea of if we are in the week that a Nintendo Direct could happen or not. So this is the post in question. So this week. Now, everybody is immediately jumping to the conclusion that Nash Weedle is for sure saying that this is about a Nintendo Direct. Now, it's not necessarily confirmed that that's the case, and Nate actually poses, I think, the right question, but you can see the replies. Nate the Hate 2, do you know something? He goes, about the Nintendo Direct this week. It's Sunday. I haven't heard of a Direct for the coming week at this time. Maybe I'll hear different once the week starts. Did anyone ask if that's even what this tweet is implying? And to my knowledge, Nash Weedle has not answered that. Then it has, so Nate the Hate, now that is Monday. What have you heard now about a Nintendo Direct this week? I have not heard anything about one being this week at this time. And then he goes on to basically say that it has to be this week because Donkey Kong is the week after and the Pokemon Presents the week after that. And Nate the Hate just being honestly truthful with how Nintendo does things. They can do it whenever they so choose. And that is kind of the Nintendo we've seen nowadays. And while I do personally buy into the belief online that we're going to see some kind of summertime Direct presentation, I don't think we're waiting till September to get the next round of updates from Nintendo. Maybe it's just a partner showcase, but I still think it could be a full mainline Direct. But when they actually want to hold it, that is entirely up to Nintendo, and we see them do very on paper, sometimes things that don't make sense. Like nobody thought that there was going to be a full-scale mainline Nintendo Direct the week before the pre-announced April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, but instead of Nintendo holding their traditional February Direct like they typically do for the Switch 1 software, they just chose to announce the week before the pre-announced Switch 2 event that there would be a full mainline Nintendo Direct, like literally exactly a week before. So if that tells you anything, it's that you cannot really rule out any particular week on the calendar just because something says it makes sense or not. We also saw them drop the Switch 2 first look trailer on literally the launch day of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. So yes, I do actually think that a Direct could happen this week. It could absolutely happen the launch week of Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it could absolutely happen in the same week as a Pokemon Presents. All of these things are on the table. It could also be the very last week, like a Wednesday, the 30th. We don't know, and it's not even confirmed for July, but Beat 'em Ups does have an existing rumor out there. Nashweedle has seemed to hint that a Direct is coming soon, and there's other sources also that we have talked about at length on the channel that we won't really dive into, but there's a lot of smoke around this particular Direct potentially popping up. But the biggest name, and I think the one that would probably give us the most peace of mind saying like, yeah, this thing's gonna happen, Nate the Hate, he's just said he hasn't heard of one this week. So I'm a little bit less confident in this week. That said, things can happen quickly. Thursday Directs are also a thing, so maybe it's later into the week, and that's where the delay of news is coming from. But nonetheless, we'll get our news soon enough. We still got exciting releases to look forward to in July regardless, but just in case you're seeing that discourse online around the Direct, that's kind of the status of it. And I don't know that it's entirely clear that Nashweedle is actually teasing that it's this week and that he's not referencing something else, because he does actually have a podcast going live with Attack the Backlog, and that's another source, I believe, one of those sources that was mentioning a Nintendo Direct. So anyway, we'll see what happens with all of this. But last up to close us out, we have some comments from Capcom around Mega Man, and you can see this right over from VGC where it says, despite no new Mega Man in 7 years, Capcom says it's one of our most important IPs. Capcom is continuously considering ways to develop new Mega Man games. And it says here, while a number of retro compilations of older Mega Man titles have been released in recent years, entirely new entries in the series are few and far between. Mega Man hasn't seen a new release since 2018's Mega Man 11, and there was an 8-year gap between that and the previous entry of 2010's Mega Man 10. For the second year in a row during the question and answer portions of its ordinary general shareholders meeting, Capcom's management team was asked for an update on the status of the Mega Man IP. The response reiterated that the company values the series and will continue to consider how it can release new entries. The Mega Man series is one of our most important IPs, and we are continuously considering ways to develop it further. However, we do not have any additional information we can share at this time, it said. So listen, I'm a lifelong Mega Man fan. Biggest highlight of the franchise for me is X 1 through 3. So if anything would happen in the Mega Man X line of games, that's definitely probably the most hype for me. I would love to just see it come back. I would also love to see a Legends 1 and 2 remaster, and then actually just have 3 officially announced and confirmed to us or something like that. Like, Capcom could do a lot of cool things with Mega Man, and they just haven't done much right now. So it's been years and years. We'll see if it's just going to be, you know, maybe Mega Man 12 and they continue in that direction with the franchise, or maybe they're going to do something more creative this time around, revitalize the X series, and or maybe they will actually choose to revisit Legends, although I'm really not holding my breath for that one. So let me know in the comments down below what you make of all the different stories we talked about today. Would you personally like to see themes hit Nintendo Switch 2, and do you put any stock into this rumor that suggests that they will be coming as soon as next year? Do you want to see more Switch 2 edition games, and would you be excited to potentially pick up a Switch 2 edition of Pikmin 4? Have you been having a hard time finding the Switch 2 if you're currently on the hunt for it? Where's your hopes and levels of expectations for a Nintendo Direct happening this week or in the month of July at all? And are you personally ready to see a new Mega Man game hit the market once again like I am? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.